Are you suffering through crippling anxiety? Does it feel like a shadow that follows you, consuming your peace of mind and leaving you feeling trapped within your own thoughts? You're not alone. Anxiety is a common challenge that many of us face, often feeling like it eats away at us from the inside. But what if I told you that there is a way to break free? Today, we're going to explore how the ancient philosophy of Stoicism can offer powerful tools to manage and overcome anxiety. And for those who joined us in our last journey to combat our addiction to dopamine, I'll touch on how you're progressing with the challenges and how they align with our topic today. Let's dive in. First, let's understand anxiety from a Stoic perspective. Anxiety can be understood as a disturbance of the mind that arises from wanting things to be different than they are, particularly in relation to things outside our control. The Stoics believed in living in accordance with reason and virtue, emphasizing the importance of understanding the nature of the world and our place within it. Anxiety, in the Stoic view, stems largely from our reactions to our perceptions of external events rather than the events themselves. This distinction is crucial. Stoics argue that most human suffering, including anxiety, comes from our attempts to control or overly invest in things outside our control. This includes worrying about the future, societal expectations, material possessions, and the actions of others. Epictetus, in the opening of his handbook, the Enchiridion, introduces the dichotomy of control by stating that some things are within our control while others are not. Our own thoughts, intentions, and actions are within our control. Almost everything else, including the behavior of others, our social status, health, and wealth, lies outside it. Misplacing our focus on the latter category is a direct path to anxiety because it involves desiring control over the uncontrollable. Stoics believe that anxiety often arises from cognitive distortions, mistaken beliefs, and value judgments we impose on neutral events. For instance, if someone fears public speaking, the Stoic approach would examine the value judgments and beliefs underlying this fear. Is the fear of public speaking based on an overvaluation of external approval or a misjudgment about the consequences of making a mistake? By challenging and reframing these value judgments, one can reduce the anxiety associated with them. Now, how can Stoicism help us combat anxiety? Here are a few Stoic exercises and principles that can be transformative. 1. Premeditatio malorum, which translates from Latin as the premeditation of evils, is a Stoic exercise aimed at preparing oneself mentally for future hardships and misfortunes. This practice involves regularly visualizing potential negative outcomes or difficulties in life, not to dwell on them pessimistically, but to prepare oneself mentally and emotionally for adverse situations. This can diminish the shock and discomfort when challenges do arise and reduce anxiety related to uncertainty about the future. The purpose of premeditatio malorum is multifold. It cultivates resilience, enhances our problem-solving skills, and most importantly, fosters an appreciation for the present moment. By contemplating difficulties or misfortunes in advance, individuals can build mental and emotional resilience. It helps to reduce anxiety about the future, since one has already considered the worst possibilities and mentally prepared for how to deal with them. Thinking about potential challenges in advance allows for better planning and preparation. If a contemplated scenario were to occur, one would ideally already have thought through possible responses or solutions. This practice can enhance gratitude for one's current situation, no matter how humble or modest. By highlighting that circumstances could be worse, it encourages not taking one's blessings for granted. 2. Focus on virtue. Stoicism posits that the only true good is living in accordance with virtue, excellence of character. External events, whether we perceive them as good or bad, are indifferent because they do not have the power to compromise our moral character unless we allow them to. Focusing on cultivating virtues such as wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline shifts the aim from achieving external outcomes to developing internal moral integrity, which is fully within one's control. This shift in focus can significantly alleviate anxiety. According to Stoic philosophy, virtue alone is sufficient for happiness, and it consists in living in accordance with reason and nature. The Stoics identified 4 cardinal virtues derived from Socratic philosophy, which are wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. For the Stoics, focusing on developing and practicing these virtues leads to a life in accordance with nature and reason, which they equate with happiness. Virtue is seen as the only true good, entirely within an individual's control, unlike external goods such as wealth, health, or status, which can be taken away and are therefore considered indifference. While preferred indifference like health and wealth can contribute to a convenient life, they are not necessary for happiness, which depends solely on virtuous living. 3. Fantasia cataleptic, often translated as cognitive impression or objective representation, is a concept from Stoic philosophy, particularly pivotal in the Stoic theory of knowledge. In Stoic epistemology, not all impressions or appearances are considered reliable sources of knowledge. Impressions can be misleading, as they might arise from incorrect judgments or interpretations of the senses. The Stoics, therefore, distinguish between mere impressions and those that are cognitive or apprehensible, which are capable of leading to a true and justified understanding of the world. This involves describing events in objective, factual terms, without adding an emotional or evaluative layer. For example, instead of thinking, "This is a terrible disaster," one might say, "This is a situation where I've encountered an obstacle." This practice helps in preventing emotional reasoning from amplifying anxiety. The concept of objective representation is central to the Stoic endeavor to secure a basis for certain knowledge in the face of skepticism. By asserting that some impressions possess an inherent quality that makes them unmistakably true, the Stoics aim to establish a criterion for distinguishing between true and false impressions, thus grounding their philosophy in a form of empirical realism. Now let's also explore the connection between dopamine and anxiety. As we discussed in our last video, quick surges of dopamine amount to nothing more than fleeting pleasure. Dopamine's involvement in the reward system can sometimes contribute to behaviors that temporarily alleviate anxiety or stress, such as indulgence in food, pornography, or social media. But these behaviors may not be aligned with long-term well-being or rational decision-making. In our last discussion, we tackled the challenge of dopamine addiction through various exercises. Before we part ways today, I want to take a moment to speak directly to each of you. Embarking on these challenges is more than just an exercise. It's a commitment to transforming your life. I understand that change can be daunting. It requires stepping out of our comfort zones, confronting our habits, and sometimes facing the parts of ourselves we'd rather not. But the beauty of change, especially when guided by Stoic principles, is that it empowers us. It gives us control over our reactions, our emotions, and ultimately, our happiness. I'm not just your guide on this journey. I'm walking this path with you. We're in this together, and I believe in us. I believe in the strength you have to make these changes, to face the discomfort of growth, and to emerge stronger, more peaceful, and more fulfilled. So, I encourage you, take these challenges seriously. Make that effort, not tomorrow, not someday, but today. Your journey towards a life less dominated by anxiety, a life where you're in control, begins with a single step, and that step is yours to take. Thank you for sharing your time with me. Remember, every great journey begins with a small step. Let's take that step together. For support, inspiration, and community, don't hesitate to reach out in the comments below, share your progress, and encourage one another. Together we can do this. If this video resonated with you, please share it with someone who might benefit from it too. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content on living a more fulfilling and stoic life. Until next time, stay present, stay strong, and continue to challenge yourself.